Got an itch. What a way to start the stream, right? I got an itch in my ear. Alright, that's good to go. Right, green light. Yeah, we're good. Alright. Let's do her. Get this done. Get her over with. If my computer will play nice, please play nice. Don't be a butt. Ugh. Me and you have been going the rounds for the past 3 days. Come on, just play nice. Oh, it's wanting to play. It's wanting to be a butt. Well, let's hope it won't be, but I highly doubt it. Because, yeah, it'll do its thing. It's just gonna take a minute. It's a big file, so maybe that's why it wants to be a butt. I don't know. But today we're just gonna probably be working on this chapter. We're gonna probably be removing all the mistakes. Then we're going to just export it. Okay, please just play fucking nice. For goodness sakes. Prior to walking past... Okay. I believe that's where it all is. That's where it all starts. Yeah. Oops, not that. Hello, Izzy, by the way. Alright, we need to get to 6 seconds. Right there. Pull that back. So yeah, this is the start to the finale of The Binding of Ice and Lightning. I really hope you guys are excited for it because, yeah, I'm kind of happy with how the finale came out. Anyways. Prior to walking past the gate barrier that guarded the courtyard of Zapoljarny Palace, Ganyu, Kuching, Yelan, Jean, and Diluc... Okay, hang on. Prior to walking past the gate barrier that guarded the courtyard of Zapoljarny Palace, Ganyu, Kuching, Yelan, Jean, and Diluc had all been emotionally affected by the sights they'd seen along their way. Snezhnaya had been the opposite of what all of them had come to assume out of their separate traumas from the attacks on both Mondstadt and Liyue Harbor. Families, merchants, and children playing in the streets. No. Families, merchants, and children playing in the several streets were the main... Pull that back. Families, merchants, and children playing in the several streets were the main sights of the cryo capital, appearing non-hostile and peaceful.
Know why this
Appearing non-hostile and peaceful. Hostile. Appearing non-hostile and peaceful.
Pull that back.
Appearing non-hostile and peaceful. However, it was only because they were in the...
Like, I really pushed the whole, like, war is bad message into the finale.
Non-hostile and peaceful. However, it was only because they were in the land of their enemy, and it was likely that due to being separated entirely from their foe...
Hold that back.
And it was likely that due to being separated entirely from their foe in the war, that the citizens had no reason to fear any sort of attack or intrusion. That very assumption made them sick to their stomachs, knowing what was coming within less than 1 hour. These innocent people going about their everyday lives would soon... These innocent people going about their everyday lives would soon witness what they had witnessed over the duration of their current battle with the Doctor. It wasn't their fault, and yet they'd still have to get caught in the crossfire. And all Ganyu and the others could hope for was that none of these people would end up dead in a pool of their own blood. The only head they were after was the Doctor's. There was no need to kill anybody else. However, Ganyu had seen this scenario many times in the Archon War, and even knew that the likelihood of their intent being the outcome wasn't going to happen. People from both sides of the war were going to die today, and that was the cold truth she'd come to accept as a veteran of the bloodiest era in Tevat's history.
Okay. Let's save, because I don't want to deal with... Alright, save project. I don't want to deal with any bullshit. Alright, wait for that to run its course. This finale is going to be freaking long. I'm just going to let you guys know right away, it's going to be long. There were 2 chapters with 9k words in them. But I like to go big with my finales, so that's why it's so long. I'm excited for it. Even though one chapter is going to really push my abilities as a narrator. I think it's this one, actually. Right? Yeah, it is this one. I believe it's just this one that really is going to push the boundaries of what I can do as a content creator. Because some of these sound effects are going to be hard. When it comes to like fantasy and stuff like that, it is going to be very difficult. Yeah, I think that's where I am. Alright, just wait for that to save, and then we're going to get back to it. Okay. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's go something like that. I don't think that's anything important.
And that was the cold truth she'd come to accept as a veteran of the bloodiest era in Tevat's history.
Oh, I see what I took back.
And that was the cold truth she'd come to accept as a veteran of the and that...
Let's see if that might work.
People from both sides of the war were going to die today. And that was the cold truth she'd come to accept as a veteran of the bloodiest era in Tevat's history. They all had accepted the reality of the coming inferno that would burn endlessly. No. They all had accepted the reality of the coming inferno that would burn endlessly. Until either the No. Any day now.
Where am I starting? Okay, where did I take it from? They all.
Yep. They all had accepted the reality of the coming inferno that would burn endlessly until either the doctor was dead or the last breath of their army was exhumed in defeat.
Okay, I gotta get in there a little bit more. I don't know if I got that or not. A little bit more. There we go. Yeah, now I can see very well.
Or the last breath of their army was exhumed in defeat. Was dead. Or the last breath of...
Nope. Way too close. Something like that.
Or was dead. Or the last breath of their army was exhumed in defeat. It was the Second Archon War, and as...
Okay, let's bring that back a little bit more.
Was exhumed in defeat. It was the Second Archon War, and as they stood outside the same wooden...
yeah, this was a tricky line.
And as...
I think I'm not at... and as... Alright, let's see. I can't tell.
And as they stood outside the same wooden monoliths engraved with the symbol of a snowflake that Kusanali had seen in Ganyu's... No.
Yeah, now I remember. Now I remember. Can't spin up. You dirty mother...
And as they stood...
Okay, anyways. That does not look like a clean take at all. And as... And
as they stood outside the same wooden monoliths engraved with the symbol of a snowflake that Kusanali had seen in Ganyu's psyche, they were all at the highest level of caution possible. The inside of Zapoljarny Palace was as astonishing as its outer appearance. The walls painted snow white, the ceilings high and wide, and every speck of its interior adorning either framed paintings, photos, or traditional artifacts that represented the history of Snezhnaya. Man, I was building up a lot of flavor there.
yes, I was.
Snezhnaya. Every inch of the floor was marble, and the first thing they caught the... Every inch of the floor was marble, and the first thing that caught... Every inch of the floor was marble, and the first thing that caught the eye upon passing the entrance of the building was the massive chandelier that lit every inch of the foyer. There was no doubt they were in a place of royalty, and it was absolutely clear that this was Her Majesty the Tsaritsa's abode. While beautiful and breathtaking, they all were fully aware. While beautiful and breathtaking, they all were fully aware that they were in a queen bee's nest surrounded by her strongest soldiers. They were literally one wrong move away from a battle against a force as powerful as the force of all of the worldly gods combined, and knew that there was absolutely no room for error. Two common guards stood adjacent one another at the entrance to the throne room.
Oh, it's this part. And what's funny about this part is that I had to record this in 2 separate days because of something that came up.
Two common guards stood adjacent one another at the entrance to the throne room, meaning it was time for the second challenge in their mission. Please hand over any weapons on your person. Fuck me in the ass.
Yeah, see?
Please hand over any weapons on your person. The right guard commanded, to which Diluc took the initiative. Diluc. We will not be... We will not be doing so. Because if a quarrel from... We will not be doing so. Because if a quarrel from a disagreement... No. Because if a...
We will not.
We will not be doing so. Because if a quarrel from a...
I don't know why I couldn't do this, but I couldn't. Oh, there's a cuss. That's definitely a cuss. Okay, what do we got back here?
Because if a quarrel... Are you really gonna do this all fucking day? If not, I'm restarting your fucking ass.
Oh. Oh. Okay. I need to come over here. What do we got here?
We will not be doing so. Because if a quarrel from a disagreement is met in our...
Hold that back.
We will not be doing so. Because if a quarrel from a disagreement is met in our compromise with Her Majesty, we'd rather have something to defend ourselves with than our bare fists. You suggesting so is a disrespectful and You suggesting so is disrespectful, and considering this concern... You suggesting so is disrespectful, and considering this concerned your whole country making peace to end a war that has already cost too many lives, I would suggest you don't piss off our side. I would suggest you don't piss off our side. If we can't defend ourselves, then we'll have...
Pull that back.
I would suggest you don't piss off our side. If we can't defend ourselves, then we'll happily turn around and continue to fight against your nation's armies. Do you really want to be the cause of lives being taken? Do you really want to be the cause of lives being taken when they could have been spared? That was so mouth noisy, it's not even funny. Do you really want to be the cause of lives being taken when they could have been spared?
Pull that back.
Do you really want to be the cause of lives being He was fierce and straightforward, and it was clear the guard had been affected by this statement. And it was clear that the guard had been affected by the statement. Diluc hadn't lied at all, seeing they had
Pull that back. Or forward, excuse me.
And it was clear that the guard had been affected by the statement. Diluc hadn't lied at all, seeing they had every right to turn around and continue fighting against Nezhnaya. He'd put the guard into a corner, and now he had to make the decision to either be the cause of more casualties. He'd put the guard into a corner, and now he had to make the decision to either be the cause of more casualties or drop his customs to potentially save his country.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, I...
Pull that back.
Sir, I'm just following orders. No. Sir, I'm just following orders. The guard spoke shakily. Sir, I'm just following orders. No.
Huh, this is interesting.
Sir, I'm just following orders. The guard spoke shakily. Her Majesty insisted on this custom to keep herself safe from assassins. Being the enemy...
Pull that back.
Custom to keep herself safe from assassins.
Nope, we need to get that out. Otherwise, that's gonna be a problem. Okay, so do something like that. Pull that out just a little bit. So that might work.
On this custom to keep herself safe from assassins. Being the enemy, you could have ulterior motives. So I must ensure her safety.
You ignorant bastard.
You could have...
I swear, whoever put delete and home next to one another, fuck you.
Being the enemy, you could have ulterior motives. So I must ensure her safety. Then we have wasted our time coming here. Diluc answered. Come along, everyone. Come along, everyone. It seems this idiot would rather forsake his country over pride. Mouth, could you shut the...
Yeah.
Come along, everyone. It seems this idiot would rather forsake his country over pride. It seems this idiot would rather forsake his country over pride than save it from further bloodshed. Than save it from further bloodshed. I wish you luck in explaining this to your god.
I need to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, yeah, that was way too far back. About right there, I'd say.
Forsake his country over pride than save it from further bloodshed. I wish you luck in explaining this to your god, because you've committed treason by preventing a potential truce between opposing sides. Forsake his country over pride than save it from further bloodshed. I wish you luck in explaining this to your god, because you've committed treason by preventing a potential truce between opposing sides.
Okay. Hold that back.
Upon the mention of treason, the guard jumped and began to sweat in fear. Again, Diluc hadn't lied, seeing his statement about interfering with the truce did count as treason. The Tsaritsa puppet. Again, Diluc hadn't lied.
Right there. There we go.
Again, D-Luke hadn't lied, seeing his statement about interfering with the truce did count as treason. The Tsaritsa puppet had initiated the proposal.
Pull it back.
The Tsaritsa puppet had initiated the proposal for this arrangement. The Tsaritsa puppet had initiated the proposal for this arrangement. So by the guard stopping them, he was going against his ruler's wishes.
Pull it back.
So by the guard stopping them, he was going against his ruler's wishes. D-Luke had handled this obstacle perfectly.
Nope, stop. Pull that back.
D-Luke had handled this obstacle perfectly, and now the guard was facing a crossroad that could mean him being executed for betraying his deity's orders. Checkmate.
Okay, hang on. I need to make sure I said that correct. This is one fucking word that I just cannot. Deity.
Here's the definition of deity.
Okay, I did. Good.
D-Luke had handled this obstacle perfectly, and now the guard was executed for betraying his deity's orders. Checkmate. Wait! The guard called in haste. To which D-Luke smirked before turning back to face the guard.
Bring that back.
The guard called in haste, to which D-Luke smirked before turning back to face the guard. He didn't say anything and just folded his arms, allowing his prey to come to his senses. I'll comply. But in return, you say nothing to Her Majesty about this debate between us. Fair enough. D-Luke answered, having a hard time preventing himself from smiling in victory. I am glad you decided to listen to reason and expect proper respect towards myself and my comrades from now on. And expect proper respect towards myself and my comrades from now on. Of course. The guard finished, stepping aside to allow them access to the throne room. D-Luke followed by walking forward and pushing open the two tall doors, opening to a long and wide room that
Hold on. Pull that back.
opening to a long and wide room that spelled danger of the highest caliber. On the throne was the Tsaritsa, sitting in a royal composure and looking straight out at them. However, that was the least of the hazards.
Bring that back.
Straight out at them. However, that was the least of the hazards visible in the room. All of her harbingers, excluding two and the dupe of the doctor, standing noble and loyal at the foot of the throne on both sides. As expected, the doctor had taken every bit of caution and prepared for anything. As they walked bit of caution and prepared for anything. As they walked past
Pull that back.
As they walked past the doorway into the room, nobody moved or spoke. There was so much tension in the room that it was suffocating, and it was clear as day that both sides were fully alert of one another. In other words, they were going to need to be careful and watch everything they said or did in this encounter. Welcome to Zapolyarny Palace, Mondstadt and Leeway officials. The Tsaritsa spoke, her tone the same warm and comforting tone as before in the videos that Ganyu, Kuching, and Yelan had witnessed.
Okay, hang on. I thought something was crawling on my foot. I had to take a look.
The Tsaritsa spoke, Her tone that same warm and comforting tone as before in the... Her tone the same warm and Her tone that's...
Check that. You absolutely sure? Bugs. God. No, thank you. Please get off my foot.
Her tone the same warm and comforting tone as before in the videos that Ganyu, Kuching, and Yelan had witnessed. I do hope...
Pull that back.
I do hope your trip here wasn't troubling, seeing the waters tend to start freezing around this time of year. Not at all, Your Highness, Diluc answered. Aside from the winds, getting here was rather smooth. That's wonderful to hear, despite our current resentment towards one another in this war, she replied, surprising all 5 of them. They had expected the doctor to play as if nothing was wrong between them. They had expected the doctor to play as if nothing was wrong between them, but instead, he'd actually made it clear that the moment they were... But instead, he'd actually made it clear that at the moment... But instead, he'd actually made it clear that at the moment they were enemies. That raised a red flag, so they all kept their guard up as Diluc continued to speak for them.
Hold that back.
So they all kept their guard up as Diluc continued to speak for them. Perhaps that... No.
What the hell was that?
Perhaps that... No.
Oh.
Perhaps that can be the beginning of building trust between us in this hopeful truce. Diluc replied, his answer being the perfect way to keep their true motives at bay, as the Tsaritsa made the first move by getting up from her throne and walking down to meet Diluc
Hold that back.
By getting up from her throne and walking down to meet Diluc face to face.
We can always fix those later. It's not that big of a deal.
Perhaps.
Okay. Okay. Whoa. What is all this?
Piece of fucking garbage.
Oh.
Just let me get my...
Okay. Perhaps.
Just let me get my fucking shit done, you piece of garbage. Perhaps. No.
Okay.
Perhaps. She answered in the same...
Okay, let me make sure that there's enough space here.
face to face. Perhaps.
Okay. Let's pull that back a little bit.
Face. Perhaps. She answered in the same tone of voice. I do hope we can come to a... No. I do hope we can come to a compromise, seeing I think we all want to stop any further blood from being spilled. Kuching's fists were clenched so tight that her knuckles had turned ghost white in color. Your ass. I'm not doing this bullshit all day long. The doctor was clearly trying to...
Oh, shit. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to redo that.
Tight that her knuckles had turned ghost white in color. Your ass.
Okay, ghost white in color. Ghost white in color. So I'm looking for that. Let me just double check. Ghost white in color. Ghost white in color. Just ready. The doctor was clear. Okay, I did get it correct. Okay, good thing I double checked on that.
So tight that her knuckles had turned ghost white in color. The doctor was clearly trying to get one of them to act in anger by attacking their emotions, but they'd prepared for this, knowing it would only lead to someone getting killed. knowing it would only lead to someone getting killed. She took Ganyu's hand in her own as emotional support, her beloved's grip being just as tight in emotional anger. They both were sharing the same feeling right now, and it was hard to not object at the antagonizing statements being thrown at them. However, in each other's embrace, they were able to hold their anger in. Oh my fucking god. However, in each other's embrace, they were able to hold their anger in. They were able to hold their anger in their bodies.
Jiminy.
They were able to hold their anger in their bodies.
Let's see if that is correct.
Likewise, each other's embrace, they were able to hold their anger in their bodies. Likewise. D-Luke answered.
Pull that back.
Likewise. D-Luke answered calmly.
Pull that back.
D-Luke answered calmly. If you'd like to start, please lead the way. Of course. Number 1, please hand me the documents regarding this matter. That was a surrender. They'd won one battle, and it was all thanks to D-Luke having the mental strength as strong as a fully mature Minotaur. However, it was far from over, and the worst was yet to come. Number one, aka Piero, followed his deity's command and pulled out a rolled up document held together by a red ribbon from the inside of his coat. Piero followed his deity's command and pulled out a rolled up document held together by a red ribbon from the inside of his coat. He walked from his standing position to the Tsaritsa and handed her the scroll, to which she took gently and began to lead her guests to the table just off to the side. Where am I?
Okay.
It was close enough for the best. No. It was close enough for her best to get to. No. It would.
Why do those two buttons have to be right next to one another? Why? Okay. It was one.
It was.
There we go. I don't know, not know why would they had to put those two right next to one another. Okay, let me double check that this is right.
Yes, to the table just off to the side. It was close enough for her best to get to if anything went awry, meaning the doctor had indeed prepared for an assault. However, the plan wasn't to attack unless it was necessary, so they played along and proceeded. So they played along and proceeded with the process of making peace with Snezhnaya. So they played along and proceeded with the process of making peace with Snezhnaya. After Jean and D-Luke had seated themselves, Ganyu, Keqing, and Yelan had taken position behind them. They kept their weapons within reach. They kept their weapons.
I do not know why I was struggling so bad. Because the asshole upstairs was getting active.
They kept their weapons within reach, shall phase 2 initiate earlier than anticipated, and eyed the harbingers behind the Tsaritsa like hawks. Good timing.
Yeah, I think that was good enough to not get caught.
Tsaritsa like hawks. They were by far the biggest.
So I'm gonna have to do something kind of like, something like that. So.
Tsaritsa like hawks. They were by far the biggest threat, and considering they were making direct eye contact, it was clear that they were in the same headspace as them. Both sides had come prepared, meaning all hell would break loose when Phase 2 came.
Okay, pull that back.
Both sides had come prepared, meaning all hell would break loose when Phase 2 came. However, all three were fully aware of what stepping into this throne room had implied, meaning they were ready to go all out, even if it meant death. Ganyu still planned to try and convince the Harbingers that their second member was up to no good, but the current scenario was making that seem impossible. Regardless, she'd do what she needed to save Teyvat and the real Tsaritsa. Because that was her...
What was that?
Because that was her duty and contract she'd made with Morax.
Alright, let's get that out, if I can get it out. Let's see if I can get that out.
Because that was her duty and contract she'd made with Morax. There was no telling what was going to happen, as the provided quill to sign the treaty was dipped into the inkwell and set to begin the truce.
Okay.
Pause. Jesus fucking Christ.
Alright. Just mute that. Let's pull that about right there, I'd say.
10 hours. That had been the amount of time it had taken for all of the other support ships to reach the Mirage Gate, and in that time, the mist cloaking the water's surface had thickened and expanded to the point of visibility being nearly impossible. It was haunting to some who had never seen such a sight, while others saw it as something beautiful and breathtaking in the light of the... While others saw it as something beautiful and breathtaking in the... While others saw it as something beautiful...
Okay, what do we got here?
It was haunting to some...
Okay. Pull that back.
While others saw it as something beautiful and breathtaking in the light of the early morning sun.
Right there, I'd say.
And breathtaking in the light of the early morning.
Stupid fan. Okay, anyways. Pull that back. Let's see if that might work.
Beautiful and breathtaking in the light of the early morning sun.
Okay. Would you fucking just go, you ignorant bitch? Jesus. Pull that back a little bit more.
Full and breathtaking in the light of the early morning sun. A marvel full and breathtaking in the light of the early morning sun.
There we go.
A marvel produced by nature.
I don't know.
A marvel produced by nature, or even the celestial gods, for their worldly subjects to admire and adore. Aside from the ghostly fog, the trip to the borders of the Mirage Gate had... From the ghostly fog, the trip to the border...
Back.
Fog. The trip to the borders of the Mirage Gate had been rather smooth than turbulent for the many armies of Teyvat's capitals. The plan for all of them to sail to the security...
Oops, wrong button.
The plan for all of them to sail to the...
Oh, hang on. My mic is having a... Stupid fucking... Sorry, guys. My mic cord likes to... Stupid fucking fan. Anyways. Oh. You're asking for it. Stupid... Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I swear. Anyways.
secure... The plan...
Okay. Let's try that again, shall we? Jesus. Okay, I just give up on your ass.
for had been rather smooth than turbulent for the many armies of Tevat's capitals.
The plan? Likewise. So everything goes like funk, the trip to the plan. Okay.
Had been rather smooth than turbulent for the many armies of Tevat's capitals.
Pull that back.
The plan for all of them to sail to the security border of the Snezhnayan waters had worked out with little waters had worked out water.
Can I get that out? Get that out.
Nine waters had worked out with little issues or problems, the Archons having greeted one another in kind and rehearsed every step of the plan. That had been hours ago, and now they were less. That had been hours ago, and now they were less than 100 yards away from initiating Phase 2. While the mist had obscured their path just a little, the towers. While the mist had obscured their path just a little, while the mist had obscured their path just
That's a little bit of a plosive.
Little obscured their
Right there. Yeah, I just give up on the fan. Alright, anyways. We need equalization. Pop fix. That's the one.
their path just a little. Their path
Much better. Yep, it's finale time. I'm really happy how it came out. Because here's the thing with this finale. We're working with a lot of gray area here. Like characters that we know nothing about. We just know what they look like and have a assumption of what they are like. Like I'll tell you who's involved. The Doctor, Columbina, Piero, and Capitano, I believe. Oh yeah, and of course Arlecchino, but we know a little bit about her. The voice for her, I just went ham. I just kind of gave her a gruffy voice. I didn't really plan anything. So yeah, that's who's involved as like a gray area kind of character. Oh yeah, and this is Ritza, because we know nothing about her except that she is the Archon of Ice. That's it. But I had a lot of fun voicing in this one. Like, this one was fun. So yeah.
Just while the mist had obscured their path just a little, the towers occupied by the assigned snipers stuck out like a sore thumb high above the. The towers occupied by the assigned snipers.
The tower's occupied.
The towers occupied by the assigned snipers stuck out like a sore thumb high above the diameter of the fog's body. The leading ship harboring the... Oh my god. The leading ship harboring the
Ow.
The leading ship harboring the soldiers of Sumeru. The leading ship harboring the soldiers of Sumeru and Lesser Lord Kusanali at the very front of the bow, prepared to do their part of the task to get through the...
Wait. That happened hours ago. And snipers. The leading ship harboring the soldiers to Marrows.
The leading ship harboring the soldiers of Sumeru and Lesser Lord Kusanali at the very front of the bow, prepared to do their part of the task to get through the...
Oh boy, we are going all the way back. I'm kind of glad that was retaken though. There were some nasty clicks in there.
The leading ship harboring the soldiers of Sumeru and... The leading ship harboring the soldiers of Sumeru and Lesser Lord Kusanali at the very front of the bow, prepared to do their part of the task to get through the gate without alerting the doctor or Fatui hubs in the city.
That's a little bit of a plosive.
Prepared of the bow, prepared to do their part of the task to get through the gate without alerting the doctor or Fatui hubs in the city. Kusanali would use her powers to temporarily control the minds of the guards of the gate, and at the same time, collecting information on how to open the gate without assistance. This would be done when they pulled into the port of the structure, and once they had control, would lead the armies through the gate. That would be the ground plan, but the snipers were still a problem. Kusanali's range was limited. Therefore, Venti had the task of subduing their threats by guiding Devon to the towers and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm the rifles.
Okay. I gotta figure it out here. Right there. Okay, let's go something like that. Yeah, I included even 4 stars in this because I love Chevrolet.
Guiding Devon to the towers and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm the rifles. Guiding Devon to the towers and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer...
You can actually hear the cutoff. Okay, let's see if I can get that a little better. Yeah, my computer gave me issues the entire time I was recording this. So yeah, a little bit annoying. But I'm happy with how it came out. Alright, let's see if that might work. Make it a little bit better, I would imagine.
Here, on to the towers, and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm the rifles.
Stop.
To the towers, and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm to the towers, and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm the rifles.
Back again.
To the towers, and having a fellow Fontanian musketeer disarm the rifles. Her musket was loaded with a special ammo designed to only knock out the snipers via electric shock, and given her marksmanship being of the highest level, she would definitely hit her target. Now within range, Kusanali began the process by sending a telegraphic message to the... Kusanali began the process by sending a telegraphic message to the... Kusanali began the process by sending a telegraph... Kusanali began the process...
I do not know why I struggled so bad, but oh geez, yep, there's a curse. Gotta love my job, huh?
Kusanali began the process by sending a telegraphic message to the second closest ship rearing them about 200 yards out. That vessel was the Fontanian one, carrying Novellas and several clockwork mecha soldiers, the strongest forces the Hydra Nation had to offer.
Okay, stop.
Novellas was on the bow looking outward, knowing it was nearly time to get ready to stop the ship. As if he could predict the future.
Pull that back.
As if he could predict the future, a young voice interrupted his thoughts, confirming that the time had come to seize.
Okay.
We're within 20 yards of the gate. Kusanalian.
Pull that back. Pull this back a little bit more as well.
Formed to seize. We're within 20 yards of the gate. Kusanali informed. Signal the others and await my command to proceed forward.
Okay.
As you wish. Novellas answered back, following by turning to the person just off to his side, his closest comrade over the past 500 years.
Pull that back.
His closest comrade over the past 500 years. She jumped at the sudden gaze towards her, knowing it was likely the sign that he'd been waiting hours for. Knowing it was likely the sign that he'd been waiting.
Back.
Knowing it was likely the sign that he'd been waiting hours for. Is it time? Farina asked nervously. I am afraid so. He answered professionally. You know what to do, Lady Farina. You know what to do, Lady Farina.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what to do, Lady Farina. He nodded. Oh, she nodded with a serious gaze.
Yes, I included even best Archon.
She nodded with a serious gaze. Right.
Ow.
She then took off to alert the captain of the ship, leaving Novellas to do his part in alerting the other ships tailing their ship. With nothing more than a raise of his arm to the sky, he used his elemental power to form a temporary downpour of water droplets.
One of his idols.
He used his elemental power to form a temporary downpour of water droplets, the signal to alert the others to seize forward momentum. It worked. Murata having caught the message upon the first
Oh yeah,
drop.
Murata as well. We don't know anything about her at all.
It worked. Murata having caught the message.
I heard that. Let's pull this back a little bit more. See if that might work.
It worked. Murata having caught the message upon the first drop of rain staining her fiery red hair, along with A and Miko as well, not far behind. Along with A and Miko as well, not far behind. All ships halted quickly, and then the time it had taken for the
Pull that back.
rearing behind. All ships halted quickly, and then the time it had taken for the rearing vessels to yield. Kusanali, the Corps of 30, and some trusted allies below deck had met the docking station at the Mirage gate. Just like before, the three guards that manned the gate had moved out from their separate stations to begin the casual procedure, up until Kusanali began to focus her elemental energy on their minds and halted them to a dead stop. A green aura hovered to the crown of their heads, their demeanor appearing as if they were zombified or drunk. 3 individuals were nothing compared to the near whole of Sumeru, allowing Kusanali much better stability over the amount of energy she needed to exhume to remain in full control. Allowing Kusanali much better stability.
I heard that. Get that out. Yep, get those out.
Whole of Sumeru, allowing Kusanali much better stability over the amount of energy she needed to exhume to remain in full control.
There we go.
Allowing Kusanali much better stability over the amount of energy she needed to exhume to remain in full control.
That was fine.
While small and appearing like a toddler, she was far from weak or powerless. Dea.
Yeah, Dea. Even the heroes of Sumeru. Like, there was a lot of characters in this goddamn finale. Like, yeah.
Lesser Lord Kusanali, are you okay to hold out? No. Lesser Lord Kusanali, are you okay to hold out?
Just kind of a gruffy voice.
Lesser Lord Kusanali, are you okay to hold out? A mercenary named Dea.
Dea. It's Dea. It's not Dea. It's Dea. But that's...
A mercenary named Dea questioned before moving out of the ship. Yes. Kusanali answered simply. Please allow me to focus so you can get the gate open. Please allow me to focus so you can get the gate open. Take all the time you need. Please allow me to focus so you can get the gate open. Take all the time you need, Your Highness. No. Take all the time you need, Your Highness.
Pull it back.
Take all the time you need, Your Highness. Another voice said, the most lethal general of the practical police of Sumeru. Sino. We'll deal with any threats that may come in the time being. Kusanali did just that, and scoured the mind of the main gateman's
Menaries? What the hell's a menarie?
Kusanali did just that, and scoured the mind of the main gateman's
Hang
that may come in the time being. Kusanali did just that, and scoured the mind of the main gateman's and scoured the mind
Ah, shit. And scoured the mind. And scoured the mind. Right there?
of
Yep.
and Kusanali did just that. Kusanali did just
Ow. I went all the way back.
that. Kusanali did just that, and scoured the mind of the main gateman's memories for the needed information to open the gate. It took her a few minutes, but she found the needed procedures to open the gate correctly without alerting the guards above them. Got it, she stated, turning to Dia. The passcode is 31823. Then you just pull down the red lever off to the right. The pass...
Right there. You get that out of there. Controller.
The passcode is 31823. Then you just pull down the red lever off to the right. The gate will stop on its own when it reaches the top. Gotcha, boss. Dia assured, running over to the main control station. Running over to the main control station and doing exactly as Kusanali had instructed.
Pull that back.
Running over to the main control station and doing exactly as Kusanali had instructed. She imported the code, then pulled...
Need to bring that back a little bit more.
The Kusanali had instructed. She imported the code, then pulled the right lever down, immediately causing the station to erupt with the same alarm as before, and the large concrete slab to lift from just below the water to its highest peak. The whole procedure took about 5 minutes.
Okay, push that back.
The whole procedure took about 5 minutes, and once everything was set to go, everyone except Kusanali boarded to proceed forward.
Okay. I need to get that out. Just like that. Okay, I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Actually, let me just save this real quick. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. Alright, let's finish this. Or not finish it, but get back to it.
Took about 5 minutes, and once everything was set to go, everyone except Kusanali boarded to proceed forward.
Okay.
Oh shit. Everyone except Kusanali boarded to remain... No. Everyone except Kusanali boarded to...
Did I do that correct?
Everyone except Kusanali boarded to proceed forward. Oh shit. Everyone except Kusanali boarded to remain... No. Everyone except Kusanali...
Hang on.
She needed to maintain control over...
Great aura. Take all the time you need, Your Highness. Gotcha, boss. Right there. And once everything was set to go,
she needed to maintain control over the guards until the last.
Once everything was set to go, everyone stood guard to proceed forward. That's correct, right?
Ship to go. Everyone except Kusanali boarded to proceed forward.
Okay.
She needed to maintain control over the guard.
Pull it back.
She needed to maintain control over the guards until the last ship passed through the gate. Once the final vessel was through safely, only then could she release her hold. See you on the other side, Your Highness. Dia stated as a temporary goodbye before boarding. Stay safe, Dia. Stay safe, Dia. She said back, watching as her subject made her way back. Stay safe, Dia. She said back, watching as her subject made her way back aboard the ship in little to no time. About a minute later, the craft slowly began to move through the opening, leaving the young Archon alone until her fellow. About a minute later, the craft slowly began to move through the opening, leaving the young Archon alone until her fellow comrades from Fontaine caught up. To alert her Fontanian allies that it was. To alert her Fontanian allies that it was safe to proceed, she transmitted another telegraphic message to Novellas not too far out. No. She transmitted another telegraphic message to Novellas not too far out.
Right there.
That it was safe to proceed. She transmitted another telegraphic message to Novellas not too far out. Said recipient caught her message quickly, having not moved from his position on the bow. The gate is open. The gate is open. Move forward.
Okay, pull that back.
The gate is open. Move forward. Upon hearing the Dendro Archon give him the green light, he seized the mild drizzle.
That's hard to say.
He seized the mild drizzle he'd conjured at the signal for the other shank.
This is a hard line. He seized the mild drizzle.
He seized the mild. He seized the mild drizzle. He seized the mild drizzle he'd conjured as the signal for the other ship flanking them to stop.
That was hard to say.
He seized the mild drizzle he'd conjured as the signal for the other ship flanking them to stop. With the rain shower yielded, that would be the alert for his other comrades.
That was just.
With the rain shower yielded, that would be the alert for his other comrades to proceed forward, and that's exactly what they all did. Less than 10 minutes after confirming her comrades to proceed, the Fontanian forces met the Mirage Gate and passed through with ease. Next came the Natlan vessel with the same amount of time, and lastly, Next came the Natlan vessel within the same amount of time, and lastly, the Inazuman Next came the Natlan vessel within the same amount of time, and lastly, the Inazuma armies. The Inazuma armies.
Pull that back.
Time, and lastly, the Inazuma armies. That was 3 ships within 30 minutes, causing the snipers atop the massive structure. Inazuma armies. That was 3 ships within 30 minutes, causing the snipers atop the massive structure to grow suspicious that something was amiss. However, before they could even act, just as planned, the distant sound of a musket being shot and the flapping of massive dragon wings erupted amongst the ice-cold winds. The distant sound. Just as planned, the distant sound of a musket being shot. The distant sound of a musket being shot and the flapping of massive dragon wings erupted amongst the ice-cold winds. By the time the 2 snipers had even become aware that something was definitely wrong, Chevrus's...
That was very hard to say.
Chevrus's shot Chavris's shot had met its target, the target being the metal barrel of their sniper rifles. Once the electrified ammo had made contact with the weapons grasped by the two soldiers, they were instantly subdued. Once the electrified ammo had made contact with the weapons grasped by the two soldiers, they were instantly subdued by the electric shock that came with it, falling like flies to the floor of their posts. A perfect shot. With their threats now taken care of, Venti guided Devon.
Okay, this was a hard one. I don't know why, but it just was not. My mouth just was not having it.
Venti guided Devon to a safe landing spot on the platforms below and met up with Kusanali. Venti had one more task to take care of, and that was shutting the gate to avoid suspicion of their ambush when the guards came to. Departing from Devon's back, Venti glided down and approached his fellow Archon. What do I need to do to close the gate? He asked.
Pull that back.
What do I need to do to close the gate? He asked. Kusanali relayed the same information as she had to Dia, to which Venti followed by entering the control.
To which
Venti followed by entering the control station and doing the proper procedure to close the gate. With little effort,
Oh god. I know what happened here. I accidentally bumped my mic cord. That's what happened.
With little effort, the same alarm as
Wait, what?
before, doing the proper procedure to close the gate. With little effort, the same alarm as before rang. No. With little effort, the same alarm as before.
Stop for a minute. I need to make sure I'm getting this correct. Breaker control. Okay, close the gate. Yep, it's correct.
With little effort, the same alarm as before rang.
Pull that back.
No. With little effort,
Hello?
the same alarm as before rang out as the gate began to descend back towards the water, leading Venti to pick up and carry his fellow sister Archon onto Devon's back and begin their infiltration of Snezhnaya.
There we go. Hello, bind ass gamer Vivek. Sorry if I butchered your name.
Send back towards the water, leading Venti to pick up and carry his fellow sister Archon onto Devon's back and begin their infiltration of Snezhnaya. Kusanali didn't break her control over the guards until...
Okay, I need to pull that out more. Okay. Pull that out.
Kusanali didn't break her control over the guards until Devon was high enough to not be seen, finally breaking her hold on their minds once... Finally breaking her hold on their minds once her form of transport...
Yep.
Finally breaking her hold on their minds once her form of transportation leapt into the sky over the giant structure.
There we go.
Leapt into flight over the...
It's fine. Alright, what do we got here?
Giant. Finally breaking her hold on their minds once her form of transportation leapt into flight over the giant structure. The guards would...
Why did I retake that? That's weird.
Finally breaking her hold on their minds once her form of transportation leapt into the sky over the giant structure. The guards would need a not a fucking god.
Jesus.
The guards would need a good second to come to full focus. So even if Devon wasn't fully ascended, there was no need to worry. Phase 2 was complete.
Oh. I need to give that some more room. Let's see, about right. Cut that out. Put that about right there, so.
Phase 2 was complete, and they were all officially in Snezhnaya, undetected by the Fatui or the Doctor.
There we go.
Kusanali Kusanali collapsed. Kusanali collapsed backward onto Dvalin's
Back.
Kusanali collapsed backward onto Dvalin's scales, exhausted from her labor. Lesser Lord Kusanali, is everything all right? Chevros asked worriedly.
That's fine.
Lesser Lord Kusanali, is everything all right? Chevros asked worriedly. Venti spoke for his fellow god, knowing she needed to have a moment of rest to regain her strength. She'll be fine. She's just exhausted after nearly an hour of controlling two minds. Really, you son of a bitch? Get out of my face!
Okay. I know what that was. That was some kind of pop-up or something.
Really? You two minds. Chevros let out a long breath of relief.
That needs more space. Let's get that quiet. Pull this out a little bit more. Right about there.
Exhausted after nearly an hour of controlling two minds. Chevros let out a long breath of relief, knowing that the gate had only been the beginning. Knowing that the gate had only been the beginning of their troubles. The worst was yet to come, and there was no telling what awaited them in the city. All they could hope for was that everything was going according to plan on the other end of the spectrum, seeing their Mondstadt and Leeway comrades were in the All they could hope for was that everything was going according to plan on the other end of the spectrum, seeing their Mondstadt and Leeway comrades were in the core of a... All they could hope for was that
That's correct.
every end of the spectrum, seeing their Mondstadt and Leeway comrades were in the core of a hornet nest, treading on a fine line of assured death. Phase 3 was moments away, and now things were about to get risky. Oh, by the way, Venti stated kindly, causing Chevros to jump mildly. Yeah? Yeah? She questioned with curiosity.
Hang on. Get those out. I'd like that take better.
Yeah? She questioned with curiosity. Nice shot. Chevros blushed at the compliment. Chevros blushed at the comment. Chevros blushed at the comment, having not expected such a compliment from a god. Thanks. Thanks. She answered with...
I like the second one better. See if that might work.
a smile. Thanks. She answered with a smile, watching as the nation of Cryo came into sight from high atop the clouds.
Stop. I need to grab something like that and go like that.
Thanks. She answered with a smile, watching as the nation of Cryo came into sight from high atop the clouds. Phase 3 had officially begun. Okay, pause.
I think that needs more pause for dramatic effect. Something like that.
Atop the clouds. Phase 3 had officially begun. Okay, pause.
Okay, stop for a minute. I said stop for a minute, please. Alright, there we go. Okay, just go like this. Shut this up. Bring this out just a little bit more. About right there. Pull this back.
Much had
Oh, hang on. Save project.
Much had been discussed in the long 40 minutes of negotiating and compromising between enemies. It was the equivalent of walking on eggshells and burning coals, seeing the doctor had not relayed from continuing to antagonize his prey.
Pull that back.
Seeing the doctor had not relayed from continuing to antagonize his prey. He had tried so hard to attack and make them resort to violence, but through the sheer force of knowing it was exactly what he wanted them to do, they had enacted. They had glanced.
Okay, bring this back.
They had glanced several times at the nearby clock in anticipation at the arrival of their reinforcements, and were relieved that no sudden intrusion of a guard to relay a message to the puppet before them. Relay a message to.
Wait, what? Hang on. What is this?
To relay a message to the puppet before them. Are you fucking kidding me? They had glanced.
Okay, so I took it all the way back. They had glanced.
Several, and were relieved that no sudden intrusion of a guard to
Oh, wow. Yeah, I took it way back. So right here?
relay a.
Yep.
They had glanced several times at the nearby clock in anticipation at the arrival of.
Oh,
No.
Jesus Christ. I heard that one.
They had glanced several times at the nearby clock in anticipation at the arrival of their reinforcements. No.
In anticipation. Can I even get that? Let's see. I'm going to zoom in for that. Something like that.
In anticipation. In nearby clock in anticipation at the arrival of their reinforcements.
There we go.
And were relieved to not have seen no sudden intrusion of a guard to relay a message to the puppet before
There
them.
we go. Much better, much better.
It seemed like everything was working out perfectly.
Okay, pull that back. Really?
Puppet before them. It seemed like everything was working out perfectly, up until they had reached a certain part of the treaty that involved discussions of compensation. That had led to conflicting stories, the Doctor having played the cards that he hadn't started the war or destruction of Leeway Harbor. Of course, that had sparked a fire inside. No. Of course, that had sparked a fire inside. Went on.
What the fuck? Ah, you gotta be kidding me.
Of course, that had sparked a fire inside. Went on. Don't even fucking start with me, please.
Okay, did I take it back?
They absolutely refused.
Okay, I've got to re-record that. Oh, fucking hell. Alright, hang on. I need to figure out where I am. That's not that big of a deal. Of course. Right there. Okay, how far did that go? They absolutely refused. Yep. Okay. Okay, let's just do something like that. Alright. Excuse me. No. Okay, I need to move this out of the way for a minute. Need to move this in place. Alright. Get this in the right spot. Alright. Where's the line? Right there. Oh, of course. I should probably take a drink of water. Oh, you're really trying to mess me up, aren't you? There we go. Of course. Of course, that had sparked a fire inside of Ganyu, Yalon, and Kuching that grew into an inferno the more the negotiations went on. The more the negotiations went on. That should work. Alright. Let's see. We need an inferno, the more the negotiations. Yeah, I fumbled there. You can hear that. One time. Alright, let's. Okay, first things first, I need to do the noise reduction. Noise reduction. Get noise profile. Control A, Control R. do that first so there's no clipping. Okay, where is... the fuck was that?
More that grew into an inferno.
Right there.
To an inferno, the more the negotiations went on.
There we go. That's better. Alright, grab that. Control C. Not sure what the hell that was, but... Alright, grab that. I think that might be a little too noisy. Yes, it is. Okay. We need to amplify that down just a teensy bit. That looks better. I'll be right back. Okay, I think it was just my parents downstairs. Thank God. It's the water system.
Of course, that had sparked a fire inside of Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching. Of course, that had sparked a fire inside of Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching that grew into an inferno the more the negotiations went on.
There we go. Pull that back.
They absolutely refused to let the Doctor win that battle, and had made it clear that they wouldn't relent. That had caused the 11 Harbingers flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse in preparation for a fight.
Hang on.
That had caused the 11 Harbingers flanking the Tsaritsa.
There we go. Yep, I retook it. Good.
That had caused the Harbingers flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse in preparation. Fucking kill me. That had caused the 11 Harbingers. No. That had caused the Harbingers flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse in. That had caused the Harbingers flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse in preparation for a fight. Flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse. Flanking the Tsaritsa.
Right there. Okay, what am I at? I'm at amplify, right? Yeah. I need to go to equalization.
Puppeters flanking the Tsaritsa puppet to rouse in preparation for a fight, if one broke out. However, Diluc had managed to calm the situation.
Hold on.
For a fight, if one broke out. For a fight.
Yeah, I gotta get that out of there. Let's see.
For a fight, if one broke out. However, Diluc had managed to calm the situation and barter for a fairer compensation regarding the entire situation, showing he wasn't an amateur in the face of a crooked monster.
Okay. You gotta love background noise, huh? Really? Come on. Thank you.
The entire situation, showing he wasn't an amateur in the face of a crooked monster.
Wow. God, what comes next? Crooked monster. Oh, okay. It's a line. Hey, Rider Storm.
Alright, it's clear we're never going to reach an agreement this way. So how about we try this? Diluc bartered. Oh, and what's your proposal? The puppet inquired. We add up the funds of the damages from both sides and split it down the middle. Really?
Hang on. I gotta figure this out.
We add up the funds.
Oh, I took it all way back.
We add up the funds of the damages from both sides and split it down the middle. He proposed. As a way of evening the score, I'll provide your taverns and pubs with the best wines I'll provide your taverns and pubs with the best wines my winery has to offer for 1 year.
Okay, pull that back.
I'll provide your taverns and pubs with evening the score. I'll provide your
Nope, that's a little too close for my liking. Okay, let's try and fix that. Right there.
taverns. As a way of evening the score, I'll provide your taverns and pubs with the best wines my winery has to offer for 1 year. That should earn you back more than enough That should earn you back more than enough mora to make the compensation even.
Pull it back. I heard that. That was the toilet. Alright, let's pull that back. Oh god, what's this?
That should earn you back more than enough mora to make
Pull
the
that back.
That should earn you back more than enough mora to make the compensation even. And what about after the first year?
This is basically Fluttershy.
Piece of fucking garbage.
It was giving me all sorts of issues.
I'm gonna have to redo that, ain't I?
How far did I take it?
And what about after the first year? She questioned.
She
Yeah,
please redo that.
That's a future negotiation.
Okay, bring that back.
She questioned. That's a future negotiation. D-Luke answered directly. My records for wine sales prove that you'll earn more than enough mora to break even.
Okay, bring that back.
My records for wine sales prove that you'll earn more than enough mora to break even. And if our relationship as business partners remains healthy and fair after the first year, only then will I provide you with more than what compensate. After the first year, only then will I provide you with more than what compensate. Only then will I provide you with more. Only then.
Bring that back.
Only then will I provide you with more than what compensation for your losses is deserved. I've got it.
Okay. Okay. So I need to figure out where we go next from here. Compensation even. Losses is deserved. There you go. Bring the garbage in. Be right back. Okay. And to answer your question, we are on chapter 33. We're in the finale. So, longer chapters. Okay, what was I working on? I was working on getting this. Okay. So this was where day 1 ended. Now I have to get into day 2. Let's see. I gotta figure it out. Alright, continuing where we left off. Continuing where we left off yesterday.
Yep.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get that out.
The puppet took a moment to think, putting a hand on her chin and thought. The deal was fair, and Diluc had made sure to make it even for both sides, defeating the doctor's ploy to try and take more than he deserved. All right. I'll accept your proposal. The puppet agreed, scribbling down the conditions detail for detail onto the rolled-out scroll. When she finished, she raised her free hand up and stated what was needed to solidify the signing. For all present, if there are any objections to this agreement, please state your reason now. Otherwise, please raise your hand. What? Please state your... Oh. Otherwise, please raise your hand so the signing may proceed.
Let's see.
Here come the screamings and the shoutings. Please state your reason now. Otherwise, please raise your hand so the signing may proceed. Silence filled the air of the... bleh. Silence filled the air of the throne room, given...
Hold it back.
that there... Silence filled the air of the throne room, given that there was really no reason for anyone to speak in denial. However, one particular... Given that there was no... Given that there...
Excuse me. Alright, let's get that in the right spot. About right there.
was real throne room, given that there was really no reason for anyone to speak in denial. However, one particular individual...
Okay, bring that back.
However, one particular individual... Right? However, one particular individual... Why do I keep losing my place?
Yeah, like that's what kept happening to me.
However, one particular individual did not raise their hand immediately, looking as if they were pondering something to do with the current situation at hand. That person had been number 11 of the Fatui Harbingers, otherwise known as Child to Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching. Said three women were surprised at the rebellious act of not agreeing with... Whoa. Said three women were... Where's the line? Said three women were surprised at the rebellious act of not agreeing and Kuching. Said three women were surprised at the rebellious act of not agreeing with his practical...
Hang on. Oh, shit. Let's go something like... I ain't getting in a better spot. Alright, there. Oh my god, stop it! Thank you. See... Said three women, right there.
Boss and Kuching. Said three women were surprised at the rebellious act of not agreeing with his practical boss that would behead him for not following her practical boss that would behead him for his practical boss that would behead him for not following.
Hang on. We need to get that out.
Her with his practical boss that would behead...
That needs more space. Right about there somewhere.
Him, practical boss that would behead him for not following her command. While Child...
Everyone should know who Child is.
Practical boss that would behead him for not following her command. While Child definitely had a rebellious nature to him, he had never acted against his Archon's word. He had never acted against his Archon's word. He usually was loyal to the Tsaritsa, never questioning anything. So why would he act and retort now?
Okay.
Number 11? Is there something you'd like to say about this matter? The puppet questioned in her usual tone of voice. Child didn't even flinch nor hesitate to speak.
Taught my dog a new trick in less than 3 minutes. Hey, nice.
Child didn't even flinch nor hesitate to speak whatever he had on his mind, stepping forward and folding his arms. Yes, Your Majesty. No. Yes, Your Majesty.
Child's tricky, like just smug, like dickwad.
Yes, Your Majesty. He started calmly in his usual tone. I'd like to question certain things regarding the root of the current... I'd like to question certain things regarding the root of the current debate. How this war started.
Back.
I'd like to question certain things regarding the root of the current debate. How this war started. Given this whole arrangement's purpose is to make peace...
I gotta get that out. Let's see if I can just get that out. Yep.
How this war started. Given this whole arrangement's purpose is to make peace between Snezhnaya and the other capitals of Teyvat, I believe it's best to not continue this without knowing the full truth of how this all started. The puppet didn't like that, and it was clear his fellow harbingers knew exactly what
That's definitely a plosive. Get that out. Yep.
The puppet did.
Okay, let me save as well.
The puppet didn't like that, and it was clear his fellow harbingers knew exactly what Child's act could lead to. One of them speaking out in an attempt to save their comrade, a short girl with a veil covering her eyes.
Again, gray area. We know nothing about this character.
A short girl with a veil covering her
Personally,
eyes.
I see her as kind of the small girl that looks like an innocent girl, but she's really a psychomaniac, kind of like Sparkle from HSR.
A short girl with a veil covering her eyes. Please forgive.
Hold it back.
Please forgive number 11 for speaking out, Your Majesty. She spoke playfully. He can merely be a fool sometimes, and I'm sure he didn't mean to speak so disrespectfully out of return. And I'm sure he didn't mean to speak so disrespectfully. And I'm sure he didn't.
Like lazy, like psychotic.
He can merely be a fool sometimes, and I'm sure he didn't mean to speak so disrespectfully out of term. Child shook his head as a way of telling her that she was incorrect. I appreciate your concern, Columbina, but I meant everything I said, he assured, turning his gaze to Ganyu and Kuching. If this isn't permitted, then I'm afraid I'll have to object to this treaty being solidified. Therefore, if you would be so kind, ladies, please speak again about what you believe started this whole mess. The doctor hiding behind the Tsaritsa's face was pinned. Child had handled his position perfectly, seeing if he objected to the signing, there would be no compromise.
Hey, there really wasn't much other adjectives to go by. Really, there wasn't.
Child had handled his position perfectly, seeing if he
Back. And he is number 11, so that makes sense.
Seeing if he objected to the signing, there would be no compromise. He had the ball in his court, and to get it back, the doctor had no choice but to either accept or find a counter. A long silence filled the room before the puppet finally responded. You know what, number 11? No. You know what? Number 11 is right. She spoke.
It's literally just Fluttershy.
You know what? Number 11 is right. She spoke confidently. No. You know what? Number 11 is right.
Much better.
You know what? Number 11 is right. She spoke confidently. If we wish to achieve peace between each other, then there can be no lies told. Otherwise, we will never truly be able to rebuild trust between our nations. Otherwise, we will never truly be able to build trust between our nations. Therefore, we will never truly be able to build trust between our nations. Therefore, I will allow this request. So, please do reiterate exactly what you believe started all of this, ladies.
Ganyu and Kuching were shocked, but also knew that the doctor had answered that with his teeth gritted. They had the floor, so they took it and began to explain everything from their side. It was Kuching first, yeah.
We believe the beginning of this war started with the destruction of Liyue Harbor and the assassination of Lady Ningguang.
Kuching explained.
Prior to the bombings and several murders, Ningguang had had suspicions of the Fatui plotting something within the city. A mill of soldier that guarded one of the entrances to Liyue Harbor suddenly disappeared without a trace, and we'd discovered a hideout that had been occupied by soldiers of the Fatui's higher ranks. Unfortunately, we were one day too late, and the city was secretly infiltrated by said threats. They took position in each of the buildings and set off explosives strong enough to kill the entirety of the city. I was injured and found by Ganyu. From there, I was just struggling to stay alive.
Excuse me. Why does it always happen when you're recording?
Ganyu took that as her signal to speak her side, so she picked up where Kuching left off. After I found her, I took Kuching to safety and worked my way to the docking area to assist Lady Ningguang, who at the time was under attack by 3 main agents of the Fatui. The leader...
She has such a hard voice to control.
The leader, Reshov Starchovsky, who we later discovered to be an android, absorbed the elemental energy from the attacks that I had attempted to subdue him with, and killed Lady Ningguang by impaling her body with a single strike. Freezing her with cryo energy he'd absorbed, and smashing her body into nothing but ice shards.
Like when we get to actually importing everything, I think it'll makes a lot better.
And smashing her body into nothing but ice shards.
The mention of Reshov's identity being an android caused the room to stir with chatter from the Harbingers, showing they were clueless about the war machines the Doctor had created in secrecy. Child was already satisfied with the answer, turning his attention to his goddess.
Excellent job, ladies. Now,
It's kind of like a not so raspy Rainbow Dash.
excellent job, ladies. Now, Your Highness, could you please speak your analogy of what Now, Your Highness, could you please speak your analogy of what Now, Your
Okay, I went back to now, Your Highness.
Now, Your Highness, could you please speak your analogy of what you believe caused the war from their side? Of course, number 11.
The puppet answered confidently.
The start of this war is due to the fact that the Miliv kidnapped, brutally tortured, and murdered one of our own special agents that originally went to Liyue Harbor to conduct a business deal.
Jesus Christ.
One of our four Fatus was localized in the city at that time, and witnessed the deal not going as expected.
Call that back.
and witnessed the deal not going as expected, and as a result was kidnapped and slowly killed. That agent was Stalkon, who reported the who reported the abduction back to Zeppelyarny Palace.
Bring that back.
Who reported the abduction back to Zeppelyarny Palace, to which I answered by sending the Geo Capital a clear message that we don't allow such actions to get swept under the rug. The android that was mentioned relates to a new project that our top scientists and engineers have been developing in secrecy for future purposes that will benefit Snezhnaya as a whole. However, they also turned out to make great advocates for disguised bombers, so I sent 3 to sink Leeway Harbor as payback for our loss. Upon seeing the results, I ordered number 2 to start mass production on them as a way to keep our defense. I ordered number 2 to keep.
This was a long line.
I ordered number 2 to start mass production on them as a way to keep our defense as a way to keep up our defense against the other nations that would eventually retaliate.
Pull that back.
I ordered number 2 to start mass production on them as a way to keep our defense as a way to keep up our defense against the other.
Jesus Christ.
As a way to keep up our defense against the other nations that would eventually retaliate. The lies boiled The lies boiled Ganyu and Kuching's blood. The lies boiled Ganyu and Kuching's blood. But they kept their emotions buried as a way to prove their case further.
What is that?
Thank you, Your Grace, Child stated. I have heard all I need to make my final decision on who is really telling the truth here. Ganyu and Kuching couldn't tell why Child was doing this, along with the fact that he was committing treason if he sided with them. It felt like the puppet was going to strike Child dead any second as a punishment, but even the doctor knew that doing so...
But even the doctor knew that doing so.
But even the doctor knew that doing so would answer the question of who was lying. The tension was tight. The tension was tight. Would answer the question of who was lying. The tension was tight and suffocating as Child answered his verdict.
Right there.
Lying. The tension was tight and suffocating as Child answered his verdict. The tension was tight and suffocating as Child answered his verdict.
Pull that back.
The tension was tight and suffocating as Child answered his verdict. In conclusion, I believe the side telling the truth is our enemy's side. An unadulterated amount of suspense and danger permeated the room. Child had just committed the unthinkable against his god and people. Another harbinger interjected instantly, the lady known as the Knave or Arlecchino. Child, are you mad or looking for a one-way ticket to Dev's Gate? The Knave questioned severely. You know the consequences for speaking outside of Her Majesty's command and rule.
Pull that back.
You know the consequences for speaking outside of Her Majesty's command and rule. So I heavily suggest you to retract your words before you end up like Rosaline did.
Rosaline equals Signor.
Child didn't wince or look intimidated.
And she called her Rosaline, so.
Child didn't wince or look intimidated, and just stood there confident and sure of his decision. Maybe both. But considering I did spend quite a long period in Leeway Harbor during the mission of obtaining the Geonosis, I know for a fact that none of our Fatus have been gone. I know for a fact that none of our Fatus have gone missing for years.
Pull it back.
I know for a fact that none of our Fatus have gone missing for years.
Hang on.
I know for a fact that none of our Fatus have gone missing for years. He explained. I checked the logs and records several times each time I visited Northland Bank, and never once was a single soldier in our ranks absent from Leeway Harbor. I've also checked ever since my return from that place, and following the date of the attack, nobody remains absent or missing. Therefore, your reason for the war starting is a lie, Your Grace. Sorry to be the one to rat you out, but I had my suspicions ever since the day you assigned me to awaken Osile and drown Leeway Harbor.
I could see Child doing this.
You never
that much
went
of a
as far as
maniac.
genocide to obtain the gnosis of the Seven before Morax. So the You never went as far as genocide to obtain the gnosis of the Seven before Morax. So the sudden change of You never went as far as genocide to obtain the gnosis. Gnosis? Yeah. You never went as far as genocide to
You never. Right there.
You never went as far as genocide to obtain the gnosis of the Seven before Morax's. So the sudden change of tactic made me question things, especially after the war started. When I learned that you supposedly sank a city to avenge a murder, I immediately knew something was off. Not to mention that you also launched attacks on Mondstadt, Sumeru, and even Inazuma, when they weren't involved in the original reasoning at all. He'd done it. Even the other Harbingers were convinced and eyeing the Tsaritsa with conviction. Even the other Harbingers were convinced and eyeing the Tsaritsa with conviction.
The hell is that? Hang on, I gotta see if that's a door knock. Well, there's no way to get through that door. No. False alarm. Alright, let's see what we got here.
Besides, he'd done it.
Hang on, I got it. Save project.
He'd done it. Even the other Harbingers were convinced and eyeing the Tsaritsa with conviction. It was as if fate had spared Ganyu and the others the task of doing what Child had just accomplished. However, the challenge of revealing the puppet master pulling the strings as the real monster was still to be accomplished. Therefore, they didn't get too comfortable and continued to watch for the Tsaritsa's response. But the only response that came was something unexpected. But the only response that came was something unexpected. A slow set of claps from the puppet. Well done, number 11. She answered unfazed. Now that we've assembled that I lied to protect myself, may we proceed? Now that we've assembled that I lied to protect myself, may we proceed? Not until you tell the actual truth. He replied, self-protection isn't enough to purposely stir the world into chaos. So tell us, why did you actually start a war that didn't even need to happen? The puppet was clearly irritated and annoyed. No. God, my mouth is noisy. The puppet was clearly irritated.
Oh yeah, that's plosive. So let's fix that real quick. Oh, you ignorant bastard. That's not what I clicked.
The puppet was clearly irritated. The puppet was clearly irritated and annoyed. The real controller now...
Hang on. Do I have it on equalization? I do. Let me do it one more time.
The puppet was clearly irritated and annoyed. The real controller now stuck and convicted. Number 11, In what way do I owe you any sort of answer? She started. The reason doesn't matter at...
Yeah, I made her just cold. Well, it's technically not even her. It's the doctor.
She started. The reason doesn't matter at this point, seeing we have all gathered here to put it all to rest. No matter the reason...
Where am I?
Unpause. Oh my god. You are pushing your fucking luck. Now, can we play...
Jesus Christ.
Nice. No matter the reason, I owe you nothing. Maybe not him, but what about us? The knave quickly answered. War is not something that starts. The knave quickly answered. War is not something that starts unless there's a reason. You deliberately attacked and destroyed a city that was populated by hundreds of people over the loss of one soldier. Genocide. Ugh. I'm gonna lose. You've had your fun.
Yeah, part of my job. Wonderful. What is this?
Genocide needs a reasonable reason. No. Genocide needs a sensible reason to occur. No. Genocide needs a sensible...
Pull that back.
Loss of one soldier. Genocide needs a sensible reason to occur. And by doing so, we've lost hundreds of our own to your own selfishness. For the ones no longer with us, you at least owe them the answer for why they had to die on the battlefield. It was a command. Arlecchino wasn't asking for the Tsaritsa's motive. She was demanding the truth that she and her fellow Harbingers deserved to know after laying their lives down at her feet to protect her. They were confused, lost, and likely questioning their devotion to her. And with each passing second, the room was getting more tense. That was the clear signal that it was time for Ganyu and the others to fill the blanks that the doctor wouldn't. So Ganyu broke the tense silence by revealing the truth. Oh boy. So Ganyu broke the tense silence by revealing the truth the true Tsaritsa had revealed to her that night. Whoa, where am I?
Pull that back.
Since she refuses to answer, I will. Ganyu stated confidently. The reason is because you've been serving someone else the entire time. This Tsaritsa is nothing more than a puppet being controlled to do these horrible things. More confusion struck the Harbingers, unsure whether or not Ganyu had just spoken at all. No. Unsure whether or not Ganyu had just spoken at all. Unsure whether or not Ganyu had just spoken at all.
What is that?
Well, things are just getting more interesting today. Columbina stated. Did I hear you right, sheep? Our goddess that we've known for decades is nothing more than an imposter being controlled by some puppet master? While Ganyu didn't appreciate the nickname, she nodded as a confirmation that Columbina had indeed heard her right. How entertaining.
Oh, she was so fun to voice. Even though I don't know if that's what she really is like. She kind of looks like the Psycho to me. Just from what I've seen of her and from what we know of her. She's very powerful. She's very dangerous. Yeah, she seems like the Psycho.
How entertaining. It seems this peace meeting has become a masquerade of fools, and nobody can be trusted. Ganyu could see she needed to prove her claim, and just like with the Raiden Shogun, she knew what she needed to do to show that she was telling the truth. She walked across the room to the Harbinger and held out her hand. If you don't believe my word, then take my hand, and you'll know who to believe.
Pull that back.
If you don't believe my word, then take my hand, and you'll know who to believe.
Holy crap, the scene is coming, isn't it?
Where is the fucking line? Seriously, where's the fucking line? There it is.
Pull it back.
Columbina sighed, clearly finding the whole act amusing. Fine, I'll play your game. However, I'm only allowing this because Tartaglia miraculously managed to prove your However,
Right
I'm only
there. That's a fuck up, I can tell just by looking at it.
I'm only allowing this because I'm only allowing this because Tartaglia miraculously managed to prove you innocent of not starting the war. That's fine with me, Ganyu answered, feeling anxious as the young Harbinger's right-gloved hand touched and gripped her own. Upon the touch, Ganyu focused her inner energy to her right palm.
Back.
Upon the touch, Ganyu focused her inner energy to her right palm, and in a sudden jolt, Columbina's mind was intruded and filled with the sight that Columbina's mind was intruded and filled with the sight that Columbina's
Right there.
and in a sudden jolt, Columbina's mind was intruded and filled with a sight that clarified the dark truth about her Archon. She was shown the weak and frail She was shown the truth. She was shown the weak and frail being Ganyu had met that night that she learned who
That she learned.
And frail being Ganyu had met that night that she learned who
Right there.
Ganyu had met that night that she learned who her true enemy was. She was shown the weak and frail being Ganyu had met that night that she learned who her true enemy was. The true Saritsa. She was shown the weak and frail being Ganyu had met that night that she learned who her true enemy was. The true Saritsa that appeared like a young teenage girl with nothing but her hair covering her private, and having cracked skin that was slowly falling off bit by bit. Upon seeing this decrepit being that her own Upon seeing this decrepit being that was her true Archon, Columbina was met with shock, emotion, and bewilderment unlike any other. She could tell this wasn't an illusion or trick conjured by Ganyu, seeing the same elemental energy and power that radiated off of the Saritsa she knew was the same as the one being presented to her. She couldn't deny it. She'd really been serving a puppet her entire life as a Harbinger. Her and all 9 of her fellow brothers and sisters who had loyally bowed and kissed the ground their Archon had walked upon. She'd seen enough.
Oh, I see.
She released her grip from Ganyu's, and in a sudden, she'd seen enough. She released her Archon had walked upon. She'd seen enough.
No, please come back more.
She released her grip walked upon. She'd seen enough. She released her grip from Ganyu's, and in a sudden culmination of anger, confusion, and sadness, began to laugh hysterically, a sight that was haunting to watch as she spoke out against the fake she'd been loyally serving for decades. Oh boy. We're gonna have to turn down the volume a little bit.
Okay, here's the fun part. Like, this was so much fun. Oh, shit. Right there, maybe? No, that's too close. Let's bring that out just a little bit more. Alright, there.
What a bitter pill to swallow. To think that I, Columbina, would be fooled like this. No, to think any of us would be deceived like this is just the greatest tragedy imaginable. Whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. What does matter is the truth.
That was fun.
Holy, as a Moses Jones, that was fun.
Oh, the fun times in the recording booth. Oh, the fun times, man.
Every other harbinger winced, knowing now that gone. Every other harbinger winced, knowing now. That knowing now that gone you hadn't lied. Their harbinger winced, knowing now that gone you hadn't lied. That said, they were still clueless on who really was behind the mask. Columbina wouldn't react like this unless it were true, the knave said with clarity, turning her gaze to who she now knew was a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'll only ask this once. Who the hell are you, and what have you done with Her Highness? The truth was out in the open, and the Tsaritsa puppet was exposed as a fraud. Now, there was no telling how the doctor would respond and retort, and all eyes were on the false queen like a blinding spotlight. Well played, everyone. Well played, everyone. The puppet responded with a devious chuckle. You forced my hand. Well played, everyone. The puppet responded with a devious chuckle. Well played, everyone. The puppet responded with a devious chuckle. You forced my hand, but I'm afraid it's already too late for Her Majesty. The board has been set in a state of checkmate for thousands of years now, with that weakling hopelessly struggling to defend her side. Get that out. Of checkmate for thousands of years now, with that weak... Oh. Mate for thousands of years now, with that weakling hopelessly struggling to defend her side. You already know who I am, but that doesn't matter anymore. The inevitable conclusion to this game of chess has already come, and before the sun falls below the sea today, you will all witness the rebirth of this world. And it all starts with what's going to happen next. With all eyes on the Tsaritsa, nobody saw what was coming from just out of sight. With all eyes on the Tsaritsa, nobody saw what was coming from just out of sight. The sound of a cold blade's still edge cut through the air of the vicinity, traveling at the speed of a freshly shot bullet towards the Tsaritsa. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody except Ganyu, who had managed to stop the assassination attempt by a quick draw and release of an arrow. Her arrow's tip had hit and diverted the steel dagger that had been aimed at the puppet's neck. Her arrow's tip had hit and diverted the steel dagger that had been aimed at the puppet's neck. Her arrow's tip had hit and diverted the steel dagger that had been aimed at the Her arrow's tip had hit and diverted the steel dagger that had been aimed at the puppet's neck, the sudden exchange of attacks having caught everyone off guard. It all happened in the blink of an eye. I lost my place. It all happened in the blink of an eye, and before anybody could figure out what had just happened, Ganyu had prepared and fired another arrow at the assassin. The dupe number two was struck and dead on the ground in less than a second. Okay. It fired another arrow at the assassin. The dupe number 2 was struck and dead on the ground in less than a second. And at the end of it all, everyone was in a state of shock. With his initial attempt of killing his puppet failed. The doctor took the second best option by going on the offensive. The puppet hastily stood up and began to launch ice and snow from her hands towards Ganyu and her comrades. The puppet hastily stood up and began to launch ice and snow from her hands towards Ganyu and her comrades, to which Jean and Diluc answered by quickly drawing their swords and blocking the strong gusts from hitting. To which Jean and Diluc answered by quickly drawing their swords and blocking the strong gusts from hitting the. To which Jean and Diluc answered by quickly drawing their swords and blocking the strong gusts. Jean and Diluc answered. To which Jean and Diluc answered. Oh. And snow from her hands towards Ganyu and her comrades. To which Jean and Diluc answered by quickly drawing their swords and blocking the strong gusts from hitting their 3 comrades at their backs. The counter worked. Okay, I gotta get that right in the right spot. From hitting the strong gusts from hitting their 3 comrades at their back. The strong gusts from hitting their 3. Like that. Their swords and blocking the strong gusts from hitting their 3 comrades at their backs. The counter worked, to which Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching took advantage. To which Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching took advantage of by falling back and getting to a safe position to prepare for a counterattack. To which Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching took advantage of by falling back and getting to a safe position to prepare for a counterattack. This is gonna be so much fun to make. You're really pushing your goddamn luck today. After the blasts of ice and frost had run their course, Jean and Diluc Jean and D-Luke attempted to swing their swords at the Cryo Archon in hopes of knocking her to the ground. However, before the blades could strike, the puppet had managed to dodge them in the form of a backflip. That had opened a window for the dupe to fire another attack, throwing out another blast of ice daggers.
You ignorant piece of shit.
However, before the blades could strike, the puppet had managed to dodge them in the form of a backflip. That had opened a window for the dupe to fire another attack, throwing out another blast of ice
Almost pushed it again.
dagger to fire another attack, throwing out another blast of ice daggers no bigger than fiberglass shards towards her two enemies. She was fast. Too fast. And as a result of that fact, the two had been hit by the assault. The ice had quickly shredded through their clothing and cut into their flesh as if it were butter. Exclamations of pain erupted from D-Luke and Jean as they attempted to shield their as they attempted to shield the blast of many knives tearing through their skin. Exclamations of pain erupted from D-Luke and Jean as they attempted to shield their
Right here?
No. D-Luke and Jean. As
This is gonna be a tricky one.
exclamations of pain erupted from D-Luke and Jean as they attempted to shield the blast of many knives tearing through their skin with their blades. However, exclamations of pain erupted from D-Luke and Jean as they attempted to shield the blast of many knives erupted from D-Luke and Jean as they attempted to shield the blast of many knives tearing through their skin with their blades. However, the attacks were stopped upon an arrow piercing through one of the
Yeah, this part. Why was this line so hard? I don't know.
puppet.
It looks like I got pissed.
However, the attacks were stopped upon an arrow piercing through one of the puppet's open palms. Ganyu and Yalon having worked quickly to defend their comrades. The hit had been enough to stun the dupe. Ganyu and Yalon still firing arrows as fast as they could towards the imposter, and allowing another opening for a counterattack.
Stop.
Ganyu and Yalon still firing arrows as fast as they could towards the imposter, and allowing another opening for a counterattack. Kuching took advantage of the open chance and shot a stream of electricity. Kuching took advantage of the open chance. Kuching took advantage of the open chance and shot a stream of electricity straight at her target's chest. The surge hit at the speed of light, knocking the puppet back
I heard that one. That's a nasty one.
into the speed of light, knocking the puppet back into the wall and allowing Jean and D-Luke time to retreat to safety. The fake had only been and allowing speed of light, knocking the puppet back into the wall and allowing Jean and D-Luke time to retreat to safety. The fake had only been down temporarily, having recovered fast and turned. The fake had only been down temporarily, having recovered fast.
Something like that, maybe.
The fake had only been down temporarily, having recovered fast and turned her gaze towards her harbingers in desperation. Why aren't you attacking them? The puppet exclaimed in frustration. The puppet exclaimed in clear frustration. The puppet exclaimed in clear frustration. As far as we're concerned, you aren't the real Tsaritsa. Child mocked. Therefore, we don't take orders from you, imposter. Therefore, we don't take orders from you, imposter. Columbina stated dangerously, preparing her own attack. From her fingertips, thin violet strands materialized and From her fingertips, thin violet strands. From her fingertips, thin violet strands materialized and acted like long and sharp extensions of her body. Once the violet blades were fully formed, she swung and hit her fake goddess at a rapid speed, launching her into the wall on the west side of the room and causing the puppet to lose her breath immediately. Launching her into the wall on the west side of the room and causing the launching her into the wall on the west side of the room and causing the west side of the room and causing the puppet to lose her breath immediately. This is going to be fun, Columbina stated sinisterly. Child and Arlecchino, you're with me. The rest of you, tend to the Mondstadt officials who are injured. No. The rest of you tend to the Mondstadt officials who are injured. The rest of you tend to the Mondstadt officials who are injured. Nobody argued, and following that, Child and Arlecchino shifted into their strongest forms, while the other Harbingers rushed to aid Jean and Diluc. The dupe had not even recovered fully by the time she was being assaulted by the three Harbingers, having only seen the slightest glimpse of Columbina's practical blades before jumping out of the way. However, it wasn't just the Harbingers she had to worry about, but also Ganyu, Yelan, and Kuching, who hadn't taken no damage. Who hadn't taken any damage yet.
Yeah, that should be correct.
More arrows flew. Who hadn't taken any damage yet. More arrows flew from Ganyu and Yelan's bows. More lightning shot from Kuching's hands. More chaos ensued. Outside of battle, the most medically trained Harbinger, Pentalone, took action to treat Jean and Diluc. While the injuries appeared as nothing worse than a really nasty scrape that had broken through more than one layer of flesh, Pentalone knew just how lethal the Tsaritsa could be. It's just a scratch. I'm fine. Could be. It's just a scratch. I'm fine. Jean objected, not wanting to abandon her comrades. Oh god, what does she sound like? Please relax, ma'am. Please relax, ma'am. Pentalone advised. Please relax, ma'am. Pentalone advised. Well, it may appear as just a scratch. This is much more than that. Her Majesty inflicted you with one of her most dangerous attacks. And those shards that ripped open your skin are like slow-acting venom that will eventually kill you if you... Okay.
Where did I take it to?
And those shards that ripped open your skin are like a slow-acting venom that will eventually kill you if they are not removed. Jean's heart skipped a beat at the statement, having not expected that to come out of the Harbinger's mouth. What? She stammered, jolting at a sudden pain attacking her nerves near the wound. Jolting at a sudden pain attacking her nerves near the wound. Simply put, if those shards aren't taken out within 1 hour, your body will turn into an icicle. Pantalone explained. So given you're already starting to show signs of the freezing process, no.
Hold on. Hello, Azzy. I am doing okay. My foot is giving me a little bit of issues today, but nothing that bad.
So given you're already starting to show signs of the freezing process, it's best we get you and your partner. It's best we get you and your partner out of here. I can't remove them here and must take you to my lab to remove them all.
Much better.
I can't remove them here and must take you to my lab to remove them all. Despite her usually valor mindset, Jean could tell that the Harbinger wasn't lying about her condition. Before saying anything, she glanced in the direction of the battle that her 3 leeway allies were in.
Lotion don't help. Because the injury is inside the foot. It's my toe. I mean, it's getting kind of a little active today. But I've been keeping tabs, and I should be able to get it taken care of before too long, hopefully. But there's no telling. Because I've got to get set for surgery first. Oh, I know I put that there. No worries, I'll be okay. I just can't wear shoes. And it kinda fucking sucks. I haven't been able to wear shoes for like 3 months. I appreciate that.
She glanced in the direction of the battle that her 3 leeway allies were engaged in. To her relief, with the help of the Harbingers, the Tsaritsa puppet seemed to be in a massive struggle. That gave her confidence that her fellow soldiers would be fine on their own. Therefore, with her answer clear, she just nodded her head as an assurance to Pantalone.
Stop.
Therefore, with her answer clear, she just nodded her head as an assurance to Pantalone. Very good. Very good, he replied.
Sure cold is one hell of a thing. Well, what happened is the Tsaritsa's basically throwing like a blizzard at her, and the things that are like snow and ice basically are like little daggers that have venom in them that basically attack the body and freeze it from the inside. So yeah, that's pretty lethal.
Very good, he replied, shifting his gaze to Piero across from him. I'll need you to carry her while I tend to that other fellow who got hit as well. Understood, Piero answered, shifting his body to a position where he could lift Jean off the floor. As if she were as light as a feather, Piero lifted Jean into his arms and started for the door at a fast pace, knowing exactly where to go from there. Pantalone repeated the same process with D-Luke, while those engaged in combat continued to defend and attack the puppet, the battle seeming as if they'd met an impasse.
Okay.
While the doctor couldn't harness the full power of the cryo goddess, while the doctor couldn't harness the full power of the cryo goddess,
Back. Pokemon rules for real. Yeah.
while the doctor couldn't harness the full power of the cryo goddess, he was managing to outmatch 6 opponents with ease. The reason was clear as day, and it wasn't any sort of surprise, considering his vessel was a worldly god. Speed was the key, along with the fact that godly power greatly outmatched
I remember I messed up on this one.
strength. Speed was the key, along with the fact that godly power greatly outmatched strength. Along with the fact that godly power greatly outmatched strength of mortals. Along with the fact that godly power greatly outmatched strength of mortals. The only person who could come close to matching the puppet's agility was Ganyu, but even she was struggling to keep up with her target. In other words, they were fighting a losing battle and needed
Stop.
to with her target. In other words,
Need to do something like that.
her target. In other words, they were fighting a losing battle and needed to find another strategy to knock her down.
Okay.
Ugh. I can't keep up. Ugh. I can't keep up. Ugh. I can't keep up long enough to get a clear shot. Yelan exclaimed.
Okay, pull that back.
Ugh. I can't keep up long enough to get a clear shot. Yelan exclaimed in frustration. Yelan exclaimed in frustration. Me either. Kuchin called from amongst
Back.
Me either. Kuchin called from amongst the chaos. Neither can I. Ganyu added, lowering her bow and turning to her allies off to the left. She's too fast for us to hit, so we need to rethink our approach before those 2 harbingers run out of strength. Yelan and Kuching barely heard her, but nodded in agreement.
Pull that back.
Yelan and Kuching barely heard her, but nodded in agreement, knowing they only had a limited amount of time to somehow
Back.
submit the Tsaritsa to where they could free her of the doctor's control, remaining in full alert of their surroundings.
Back. Silence all this.
Control. Remaining in full alert of their surroundings, the 3 took a minute to devise a plan to outmatch the puppet's speed without harming their newest allies. The 3 took a minute to devise a plan to outmatch.
That's really hard to get right there, too.
The 3 took a minute to devise a plan to.
I see where it is. Right there. Yep.
The 3 took a minute to devise a plan to outmatch the puppet's speed without harming their newest allies. It was Where am I? It was hard to think amongst the constant sound. It was hard to think amongst the constant sounds of godly strengths colliding with one another violently, but this hadn't been their first time. It took a minute, but eventually Yelan spoke up, having devised a tactic she'd used before in her mind. Okay. Having devised a tactic she'd used before in her mind. Having devised a tactic she used before.
Ah, I see.
Having devised a tactic she'd used before in her mind. I've got it.
Ow.
I've got it. She celebrated with a smile on her face. I've got it. She celebrated with a smile on her face, turning to Kuching. Kuching, how accurate is your aim with
Oh, I see. So we're just gonna have to kind of push that out.
your Kuching? How accurate is your aim with your electro attacks? Kuching immediately raised an eyebrow in confusion. I'm usually pretty accurate, but why are you asking? Kuching questioned. Because you'll need to be in order for my plan to work. Yelan answered directly. Therefore, I have another question for you. Do you think you can hit a moving target going faster than the eye can track? Confusion struck Kuching yet again. Seeing the whole of whatever Yelan had devised sounded preposterous. Seeing the whole of whatever Yelan had devised sounded preposterous. I don't understand. I don't understand. She stated back. I don't understand. She stated clearly. What kind of target would I even be hitting? An arrow. Yelan answered, causing Kuching to finally connect the dots. Her eyes bulged. Her eyes bulged, to which Yelan turned her attention to Ganyu. Back. Her eyes bulged, to which Yelan turned her attention to Ganyu, said person having caught everything due to her advanced hearing. She'd caught onto exactly what Yelan's mind She'd caught onto exactly what Yelan's mind had conjured as a solution. Where do I need to fire? No. Where do I need to fire? No. Where do I need to fire?
That's really hard to say. It's Ganyu.
Where do I need to fire? Ganyu questioned. To the ceiling. To the ceiling. No. To the ceiling.
There we go.
To the ceiling. Yelan instructed.
Hold that back.
When I say fire, I need you two to attack the ceiling area above the Saritsa. Yelan instructed. When I say fire, I need you to... When I say fire, I need you two to attack the ceiling area above the Saritsa. Kuching's confusion had disappeared entirely. Now fully aware of what Yelan was up to, a cryo-infused arrow and electro attack meeting each other was the equivalent of setting off a bomb, and by the explosion hitting the ceiling, would momentarily distract a puppet long enough for Child and the others to strike her down. However, there was one flaw in the whole scheme that could...
I don't know what the hell that was.
However, there was one flaw in the whole scheme that could cause a misconception. The blast would likely hit their two new allies and cause them to fly back into the wall west of the room. Therefore, the new question was how would Therefore, the new question was how would they get Child, Arlecchino, and Columbina's attention to get out of the line of fire? There's one issue with your plan, Yelan, Kuching stated. The blast would hit our allies and potentially cause great injury to them. Don't worry, I'm aware. Yelan answered with clarity. That's why my second question to Ganyu is... No,
Jesus Christ.
That's why my second question to Ganyu is, can you outspeed the speed of an arrow with your new abilities? Ganyu's eyes bulged, having caught onto Yelan's intent behind... Ganyu's eyes bulged, having caught onto Yelan's intent behind the question immediately. This was a question she didn't even know the answer to, seeing she'd have to move at the velocity of an arrow and a lightning strike to pull off what she was being asked to do. That was equal to how fast the Saritsa was currently moving. And while she could track the puppet's movements by a hair's width, she had no clue if her new power could enable the same speed. I don't know, She answered in defeat. I've never tested the full limits of my abilities. Understood. Understood. Yelan answered with a sigh. Understood. Yelan answered with a sigh, not wanting to put Ganyu in danger. They were back at square one, up until their minds were interrupted by the familiar voice of Columbina. They were back at square one, up until their minds were interrupted by the familiar voice of Columbina. Proceed with your plan, fellow comrades.
Jeez. Yeah, we know nothing about this character, but I think this is what her personality is going to be like.
Proceed with your plan, fellow comrades. She confirmed in her usual playful tone, causing all three of them to jump. We'll be fine. We aren't known as Her Majesty's best soldiers for nothing. And saying we'd be subdued by a simple blast of superconduction is insulting. Hurry up. We're running out of strength. The green light was given, and despite their curiosities burning for the answer to how she'd telepathically alerted them, they knew they needed to hurry. You heard her, ladies, Yelan stated. Prepare your shots, and brace for impact when I say fire. Ganyu and Kuching nodded, following Yelan's command by preparing to fire their attacks in the Sarita's direction. Ganyu settled an arrow into her bow, pulled back, infused her ammunition with cryo-energy from her vision, and awaited Yelan's command. Across the room, Kuching also prepared her attack by focusing her mana to her palm, and awaited the signal to release the practical lightning strike. Yelan had to time it right, awaiting the next collision between the puppet and the awaiting the next collision between the puppet and the harbingers to initiate the attack. She focused harder than ever before, listening for the instant strike to cut through the noise permeating the room. She counted in her head, having analyzed the duration between each hit prior to their current struggle. 1 second. 2 seconds. 2.5 seconds. Fire!
Ow.
Fire! She commanded. No, it needs to be more severe. Fire!
Ow.
Yeah, turn down the volume, stupid.
Fire!
I can always tone that down. Kind of like the second one better. Or the third one, I bet. Can always lower the volume if I need to. So let's fix that real quick. Apply -4. See, that might work.
Fire!
I can always play with the tones as well, so yeah, it'll work.
She commanded, the sudden sound of the steel of Columbina's practical blades and child's weapon cutting through the air. Ganyu and Kuching released their attacks, and in no less than a... No, I need to redo that.
Hold that back.
Ganyu and Kuching released their attacks, and in no less than a millisecond, the two met one another in flight in a violent embrace. Upon the arrow and electro energy colliding, a giant blast erupted with a boom. Upon the arrow and electro energy colliding, a giant blast erupted with a boom that caused the room to quake with tremors. As planned, once the force from the explosion hit the ceiling, it immediately caused the area of impact to implode and break apart like glass. Giant chunks of stone fell from the high ceiling at a great velocity, not stopping for anything, and aimed directly at the Sarita puppet. It all happened so fast. And just as planned, the attack had caused the Tsaritsa to be distracted long enough for her to get out of the way of the debris heading straight down at her. Child, Columbina, and Arlecchino had gotten out of the way immediately upon the sound of Yelon giving the command, and had capitalized by immediately striking the puppet down while she was distracted by the sudden attack. That back. The puppet had been hit and thrown back to the floor with a single strike to her chest, having not had time to defend herself in time for the assault. Her impact with the floor had been strong enough to shake the entire palace, the puppet having been knocked out and submitted to a vulnerable position to proceed with removing the crown that had been... Jesus. The puppet had been knocked out and submitted to a vulnerable position to proceed with removing the puppet. The puppet had been knocked out and submitted to a vulnerable position to proceed with removing the crown that had worked as a control device for far too long. Dust and smoke from Ganyu and Kuching's attacks meeting one another had filled the room. Dust and smoke from Ganyu and Kuching's attacks meeting one another filled the Dust and smoke from Ganyu and Kuching's attacks meeting one another filled the room upon their hasty approach to the false queen, Columbina having already taken the initiative to hold her limbs down to avoid any escape. Ganyu worked quickly to the position of the Tsaritsa's head and lifted it to where she could get a grip on the crown. With a good hold and the queen's head properly secured, she lifted the control device from atop the Tsaritsa's skull and set it off to the side. Once the Tsaritsa's head was safely settled on the floor, she grabbed it tightly and did what should have been done thousands of years ago. With all of her might, Ganyu bent down the practical jewelry until Ganyu bent down the practical jewelry until a satisfying crack met the room. The crown split in two separate halves in a form of justification and freedom for the one who had had to bear its weight and control for The crown split in two separate halves in a form of justification and freedom for the one who had had to bear its weight and control for too long. The Tsaritsa was finally free to live her own life the way she wished. You can finally be at peace as yourself. Never again will he force you to do unlawful things, Ganyu said to herself in her mind as a declaration of success. With the doctor's grasp on her soul now severed, Ganyu got up from her knees and took a deep breath. Ganyu got up from her knees and took a deep breath.
That's fine.
While the goddess had taken a hard fall, it would take much more than that to kill a god. Archons could heal injuries from battle easily, and the Tsaritsa was no different. It would take time, but eventually the true Tsaritsa would open and the Tsaritsa was no different. It would take time, but eventually the true Tsaritsa would open her eyes to a whole new life and world beyond the prison she'd arrived in for millennia. She'll need time to wake up, Ganyu informed. She'll need time to wake up, Ganyu informed, trying to hide her emotions. Thousands of years of pain and control have caused her...
Ganyu is like one of the hardest voices from YouTube control.
Thousands of years of control have caused her pain and suffering that nobody should ever have to experience. It'll take her some time to come to the realization that she's no longer under the doctor's control. Don't worry. Arlecchino started walking up to Gonyo. Don't worry. Arlecchino started walking up to Gonyo. As her best soldiers, we'll make sure she heals from all he's done to her. There's no forgiveness possible for a monster of his kind, and we will do anything to make sure he pays the price. Gonyo nodded, knowing what their next objective was, and that their odds were much higher now that the Fatui Harbingers were on their side. Then, would you be willing to help us stop him from carrying out his plan to reset humanity's existence? Yelan questioned. No. Yelan questioned.
Get that out. Right there.
Yelan questioned.
Nope, that's too close. I need to go something like that.
Yelan questioned. I lost my place. We'll need all of the help we can get to assure victory. Of course. Arlecchino agreed. However, I believe it's best we come up with a plan before facing him. The Torre is the one out of all of us that is the most unpredictable. And if you plan to beat him in a battle, you must go in prepared. Well, and if you plan to beat him in a battle, you must go in prepared. Columbina added, if you've come this far, then I'm assuming that you know his location and aren't alone. You're correct, Miss Columbina. Yelan confirmed.
How about B16?
We came here today with two goals in mind. Free the Tsaritsa and kill the doctor. We and our fellow comrades do not wish any harm to the people of Snezhnaya, and only want to save the world he wants to destroy. Columbina nodded in assurance. It's good you came with those goals, because you are going to need all of the power you'll need against him, she explained. However, before we can go marching into his lab underneath Frostcapped Island... No. However, before we can go marching into his lab underneath Frostcapped... However, before we can go marching into his lab underneath Frostcapped Island like a bunch of fools, you need to explain everything to... You need to explain everything you know to us that we don't know.
Hold that back.
You need to explain everything you know to us that we don't know. Time is not a factor, seeing the Tory isn't the type to run or surrender. Therefore, we have plenty of time to prepare for... Therefore, we have plenty of time to prepare for a battle with that maniac.
Hold that back.
Therefore, we have plenty of time to prepare for a battle with that maniac. I can confirm Columbina's words is true.
Okay, pull it back.
I can confirm Columbina's words is true. Arlecchino added. The Torre knows that he will be confronted now.
Back.
Arlecchino added. The Torre knows that he will be confronted now, but he won't try escaping. He's the type that... The Torre knows that he will be confronted now, but he won't try escaping. He's the type that is so confident in his plans that he'll see them to the end. That means we must be ready for whatever he'll have waiting for us. Yelan nodded in agreement. Very well. Then allow us an hour to... Very well. Then allow us an hour to... Then allow us an hour... Then allow us an hour to... Then allow us an hour or so to gather up our allies, and from there... No. Then please allow us an hour or so to gather up our allies, and from there... Then... Please allow us... Then please allow...
It's gonna clip.
Very well. Then please allow us an hour or so to... Very well. Then please allow us an hour or so to gather up our allies, and from there, we'll discuss everything that you'll need to know from our side back here. All right. No. All right. Arlecchino agreed.
Okay. Pull that back.
To which, all right. Arlecchino agreed. To which Yelan took the initiative. No.
Where are we going from here?
To which Yelan took the initiative and began to lead Ganyu and Kuching out of the throne room.
Holy osmosis. That's a lot of shit. 1 hour and 7 minutes. Jesus. This is one chapter. Okay, save that just in case. Okay, how long are we in? 2 hours, so it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Let's see. Export as MP3. Let's go. Clean. Alright, that should do her.
Oh, my day's alright. Just adding something, and besides my foot giving me issues, that's about it.
That was a lot of work. So, if that's 1 hour and 7 minutes, which one's longer? Is this one longer, or is the other one longer? That'd be chapter 35. Okay, so that one was how many words long? 9,184, and 33 was what? Okay, 33 was longer. 9,736. Almost 10k words. Holy osmosis, Jones. So, at most, I think we're looking at about probably 1 hour for 35. Maybe even less. So yeah, this final part's going to easily be over fucking 2 hours long. Holy osmosis. If I had to take a wild guess, probably around 2 hours and 30 minutes. Is where I'm about estimating it to be. That's definitely going to be the most challenging chapter because of all the sound effects, but we'll get her. Like when it comes to battles like this where it's uncommon combat, like that's not like reality combat, yeah. It gets a little tricky. You kind of have to homebrew your own sound effects in order to make it work. But this ain't my first rodeo. Oh wait, is that up? It is up.
Be sure to check out the clips and or voice samples in the description.
Ooh! Are you going to include the famous line uncensored?
Well, my channel is PG at maximum. I think I'll make an exception.
I'll be sure to cover Sweetie Belle's ears, of course.
Excuse me.
Oh, Scarlet, I've tried everything. If you'd only met me halfway, even when I came back to London.
I was so glad to see you. I was, Rhett. But you were so nasty.
And when you were sick, and it was all my fault. I hoped against hope that you called for me, but you
Let's
didn't.
see.
I wanted you. I wanted you desperately. But I didn't think you wanted me.
Seems we've been at cross purposes, doesn't it?
Save.
But it's no use now. As long as there was Bonnie, there was a
Where's
chance
the
we might be
things?
happy.
There it is.
Let me think that Bonnie was you, a little girl again, before the war and poverty had done things to you. She was so
Alright.
I could pet her and spoil her as I wanted to spoil you. But when she went, she took everything.
Oh, Rhett. Rhett. Please don't say that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything.
I would have never known what this was from. Because I've never seen this movie or read the book.
All the past can be corrected.
Wonder who the Rarity voice actress is.
Crisis of your life have I known you never had a handkerchief.
Rat, where are you going?
I'm going back to Charleston, back where I belong.
Okay.
Please take me with you.
No, I'm through with everything here. I want peace. I want to see if somewhere there isn't something left in life of charm and grace. Do you know what I'm talking
How long
about?
was the other chapter? 34. Okay. 33 minutes.
Alright, let's continue.
Okay, so.
No,
Interesting.
I only know that I love you.
That's your misfortune.
Oh, Rat.
Let's upload this to the drive and call it a day. I don't want to overwork myself too much.
Rat, if you go, where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I can't let him go again. There must be some way to bring him back. Oh, I can't think about this now. I'll go crazy if I do. I'll think about it tomorrow. But I must think about it. I must think about it. What is there to do? None that matters.
Read to tell me, Katie Scarlett O'Hara, that Terra doesn't mean anything to you.
Partial
That's the
clean.
only thing that matters. It's the only thing that lasts.
Something that you may love better than me, though you may not know it. Terra.
It's this from which you get your strength. The red earth of Terra.
Why, land's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that lasts.
Something that you may love better than me, though you may not know it. Terra.
It's this from which you get your strength. The red earth of Terra.
Why, land's the only thing that matters.
Something that you may love better than me.
The red earth of Terra.
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 I'll go home.
This is a weird freaking clip.
After all,
Alright.
tomorrow is another day.
Cue dramatic choir.
That makes everything better, doesn't it?
Oh, I love it. I still love to voice that character.
You'll be wondering, no, I am not
Music script like
someone in
Rarity.
disguise
Okay.
in real life. He and I are two different actors.
Hey, there I am. Woo!
The war probably rolls surprisingly well, Grogar.
Huh. I appreciate it, Rarity.
Hey. Come on. There you go. Alright, we're done for today. I'll probably get back to this tomorrow. Oh yeah, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Not even close. So, yeah. That was probably one of the more harder chapters to get past. So, hopefully... Oops, I did that wrong. That's one of the more longer chapters. There's 2 long chapters in this final finale. And 2 shorter ones. But yeah, that was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more than that, but that usually is how these longer chapters go. So, thank y'all for joining me. I am going to get off after this and relax because I don't want to overwork myself. Plus, with my toe acting up today, it's kind of hard to continue. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you all probably tomorrow. Yeah, I'll probably get back to this tomorrow. All right, bye bye everyone.